afternoon, morning, evening, something or other. Who knows? What's good? My name's Max, Madd Maxxx. Here is the thing. Here's the thing. With me today, we have 50 Funny Names, Derek Diddlefingers, Reverend Television.
Hey.
To my left here. And then also a special guest who does not get to come by quite as often, the homie Boyle, K9, from back in the day, fucking in the house, coming off of the heels several months now of his most recent incarceration.
Love jail.
You were in the love jail?
The love jail. Well, that's
love jail, baby, love jail.
Oh, no, love jail, baby, love jail. I mean, that could be fun. You never know. That could also be horrible. I remember the very, very brief period that I spent in Worcester House. One of the very first things that you see on the wall is there is a zero tolerance policy of sexual assault.
Priya!
Like, just big as fuck on the walls. It was just like, oh, good, this happens.
You say prenup?
Priya, the Prison Rape Elimination Act was signed into law by George W. Bush. It basically is zero tolerance for staff on inmate sexual misconduct, inmate on inmate sexual misconduct, and staff on staff sexual misconduct. It's a joke.
What about inmate on property sexual misconduct?
Oh, yeah.
Like jerking off on the walls?
Yeah.
No, they don't care about that.
No,
All right, cool.
I wouldn't figure they did.
That's your wall while you're in that room. You can do whatever you want.
That's your wall. That's your problem.
Yes.
Basically.
Your celly might have a problem with you.
Yeah, I don't.
Masturbating directly onto the wall. But
Yeah, I was gonna say they probably
I'm
would
painting.
not. I don't think they would appreciate that. I was gonna say that's like that's not like drawing some fucking some name in a cute font on an envelope to send back to your children.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Like,
How else are you gonna seal the envelope?
If you're gonna masturbate in the room at night while your roommate's in there, you just got to make sure, one, you don't get any on him, and two, you don't like you're getting silent.
Exactly.
Right. It's
You gotta keep yourself quiet.
What's that
There's a
line in
couple
Carl
different
Panzram?
Oh, if whack bitches is the subject, I could bust a nut in total silence. Translation: no compassion. Which, by the way, as long as we're being clear, was my way of twisting. I think it was a diabolic lyric from that Immortal Technique track where he says, "Show no compassion like having a straight-faced orgasm."
Oh, okay.
And I always thought that was a really dope line, and fucking, I felt like using it for the end of a rhyme scheme, doing it that way, I thought was cool. Diabolic is one of the dopest motherfuckers out there, man. No, I'm actually good.
Okay.
He fucking sunned Talib Kweli on Twitter a bunch of times. It's really funny.
Fucking Block McLeod was just talking shit about Talib. He's
It's about all that.
man. Yeah.
You Block?
No.
Talib Kweli is.
We all know Block's a crazy man. Crazy man.
Crazy man. Nah, fucking. Talib Kweli has been on that shit for a while. Like he's kind of on that like.
I only know him from a Doom collab, bro.
What's his fucking? Well, no. First of all,
the guy who played Black Panther.
No, fucking dickhead. No, you want to know what? I hate to say it, but Talib Kweli does have his place in hip hop history with like Black Star. With
Black
Kweli.
Star, yeah.
With Mos Def.
Yeah.
But
I know a few tracks.
Now he's at a point where for a while now, I even think that fucking, I'm not even gonna say his name, but I was going back and forth with. He really does not like white people, either just in hip hop or in general.
They're the worst.
They are pretty fucking bad. I mean, I'm not debating that part of it. But with that said, he I'm trying Lord Jamar. You know what I'm saying? The guy who hates Eminem.
Yeah.
Joe Budden kind of in that direction. Like, a lot of these guys look at white MCs like just as inherently less than. So it's like, at a certain point, fuck anybody that's on that level. Like, oh, just because I'm white, really? We're just gonna...
Yo, there's a
Razzcast
song, or Razzcast, whatever it is. I don't know any of his shit besides this one song called "The Nature of the Threat."
Right.
You ever hear that?
I don't
Hear
think so.
of it?
I don't think so.
Yo, it's like a 5-minute long song about how terrible white people are. And like when I heard it, I was like, wow, that's pretty solid and like irrefutable. But there's definitely been this like we're kind of tipping the scales a little bit now. You know what I mean? Like I'm not
Now,
a fucking white pride guy.
See,
by
that's
any
you want to know
means,
what?
but you gotta
That's
draw,
the funny part about it.
You gotta draw a line and be like, when does it become like
honestly, the funny part about it, I have definitely seen there are people like there was some shit. Do you know what No Jumper is?
Yeah, I've listened to a few.
So that dude, he's cool.
Yeah.
But so he was going back and forth with this chick called Kiki Clout. It said her name was.
There's always these all the rappers that he has on his show.
No,
this
wasn't a rapper. I don't think.
Fucking,
I'm pretty sure that this.
Star?
I believe so.
Yeah, there's porn stars on there.
But
too.
so that's my point is that they're going back and forth, and he's basically saying to her like, "You came on the show once, and you like the fact that you're so entitled." That you think that you just deserve to come on again. I didn't bring you on again because you were boring. I didn't want the show to be boring again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they break down to by the end of it is he's like, "You just a fucking white boy." And then he was like, "You're white too." And then everybody's like, but that's my point though, is the fact that especially if because I would be willing to bet that the kinds of like. White chicks like that'll solidly hang around. Like her last name, she goes by Clout for fuck's sake. She's obviously, she's letting you know she's on that level.
Yeah.
But just the fact that like anybody would even think that that's a fucking insult. Basically, he's just a fucking white boy. Like, oh, all right, so because that's like one of the only places at this point that racism is acceptable, and it's funny to me just because on one hand. In certain instances, I get it, and I wouldn't argue against it.
I would say racism was acceptable for mad long against a multitude of races, and it's just like now it's coming back.
And it sucks for people like us, but what are you going to do?
The pendulum is swinging in that direction, but one could also argue that all stereotypes have been perpetually made fun
interracial relationships are so much more acceptable now than they used to be.
Yeah, and then just even in media and shit like that, like
that's my point. That's what I'm saying.
Like.
Is that there's more positive representation. And it's funny because people don't ever want to look at it like this, like when you have The Last of Us 2 where the female is the lead character, or you'll have these movies or whatever where like the lead will be gay or whatever it's going to be. People are like, oh, well, why do they have to be this? Or why does James Bond have to be black or whatever? And it's about giving them representation so that people in the world that are like that can look up at something and be like, oh, hey, me too.
Yeah.
And the fact that for the longest time, like that's why I remember saying this, I may have even said it on one of the past episodes, is I so get it when Jordan Peele says I'm not making a movie with a white lead.
No, totally.
Like I so get that.
And, but here's the I think, not to cut you off,
please go ahead.
I think it goes both ways where like we all enjoy Always Sunny. And it's because it's like relatable white trash, and they have characters like Zeke and shit like that.
But you want to know what? But then when they do the episode,
the black episode
where they become
was
black,
fucking gold.
No,
bro.
And this is the point: is that this is
you
why
gave me that season, yeah. And
this is one of the reasons why I love. This is one of the reasons why I love It's Always Sunny generally is because they are
honest,
hyper aware, hyper aware of itself. I don't need your trophies in gold.
Yeah.
Come on, they weren't speaking directly to the fucking Emmys.
Great. Yo,
like we're not here for you. We're doing this because we. I'm here to let you know, go fuck yourself.
Wait,
oh my god.
Are we spinning? We're spinning. And it's the best solution to so many awkward social.
Oh yeah, just spit.
Yeah, you get caught huffing, you fucking just start spinning.
Can I go do some PCP in the bathroom?
You do
you, great. You do you.
And that's the message I want to always, push on to people. Just do you. Just don't. As long as you're not hurting anybody else.
Facts.
You start hurting other people. That's when you got to stop doing you so much.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's a fact.
Then you're doing others.
Exactly.
You're doing others.
Yeah.
Exactly. You only do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Bang.
Like. Reciprocal oral sex. Nothing wrong there. But don't go stabbing somebody because you had a bad day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're going to stab you back.
Exactly.
You would think. In most cases.
Eventually.
What
goes around comes around. I mean...
I was going to say, I fortunately have not stabbed anybody yet. So.
See, I've stabbed people and I've been stabbed. So
yeah,
there's...
probably evened out.
I feel like
Semi-even.
I've gotten more damage, but I feel like that's okay. I mean, at least I was being stabbed by people who love me.
Well, that is. I suppose that is.
I wasn't stabbing people who love me.
It was a love slash.
It was a love slash, baby.
Love slash. Oh wow, twice.
B-52's,
I was gonna say the
episode.
B-52's Day.
Yo, it's funny.
Love slash baby.
When you talk about like equal character representation in modern media, like when we were writing the Code Green pilot with Sarah,
Right.
she was the one who was overhauling the script with oh, we need to have a Spanish person, a lady, and things like that. And it's nice sometimes when you have a partner who when you're both the same race, they kind of think outside the box to be like, yo, literally, there's other people besides white people inside.
There's a lot of there's a
We
lot
talk
of
about
culture
something that transcends all this race and stuff, which is you never see an accurate portrayal of somebody who, like me, has been released from prison, a better person who's still not the best person. I want to see a lowlife trying to get their shit together. The only thing I've seen in that direction at all is the Tracy Morgan show, The OG, where he gets out, he's got the best intentions, but he still has, some reservations.
Haven't you ever seen? I guess State Property 2 isn't the best example of that because he's just gang deep in it the whole time. He's not ever trying to reform himself. He goes to prison and he's just waiting until he gets out to be able to fucking get back to work. But because I'm trying to think, that to me, I was just the other day in the fucking hotel, there was a movie that was on that was about he wasn't a convict, but he went to jail, and there was Mark Ruffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I've seen this movie.
Mark Ruffalo, and then I can't remember what her fucking name is. It wasn't the chick from Jurassic Park, but she looks like her. Laura Linney, I think so it was. But because I can't think of one off top, but I really do feel like there are movies.
There's
out
been
there.
representations of people redeeming themselves, but I think what Boyle's trying to say is that they're generally mired in this self pity, and then oh, you have to have this crazy fucking almost punitive absolving of your sins and all this shit. Where I haven't seen that show, the OG, but I know it's more lighthearted. And
Right.
you're saying something that's somewhere in the middle of actual life, where it's not this fucking, you know. Is that what you're going? You talking about?
I want to see just an accurate representation.
Exactly.
Of somebody,
Yeah.
You know what? Because I get my white trash representation. I've been binging Married with Children. You know what?
That's the
reflected
OG.
what my
I
house-
know. Yeah, when I
That
was a
reflected
kid,
what
we
my
watched.
house was growing up.
We
and
watched that. We watch that shit all the time.
It's an accurate
Yeah.
representation of my young life.
Yeah.
And the Bundys had it way better than I did, and I aspired to live in a house.
Yeah.
That was something that was very much out of reach for me. I was ashamed that I lived in an apartment as a child because I didn't. Even the lowest of the low on television lived in houses.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Was that even?
No, yeah, it's true. Families wouldn't live in apartments. It would always be single
Wasn't
people.
it
would be
couples.
Try to think of it. You know what I mean?
Because when I said couples, I was thinking of
The Odd Couple,
Jeffersons.
and they
No,
had
Deluxe-
sex definitely.
No, the deluxe apartment in the sky.
yeah,
Jeffersons, they're a couple.
They had a penthouse.
You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
I was trying to think, and I guess I didn't realize they
it's
didn't have
always
children.
couples. Yeah, so you're right. It really was Married with
Well,
Children.
yeah, because they were always trying to fucking drive home the idea. People don't ever want to think about the realities of Hollywood celluloid representation of the way that they portray things like home life and relationships and sexual dynamic. Greg Giraldo talks about this on stage, rest in peace, talking about how they just drive this point home. Daniel Tosh said it too, of men just being these sex crazed animals of just, can we fuck? I mean, it's my birthday. What about the lawn, sweetheart? You know what I'm saying?
Already fucked the lawn.
They gave the lawn my dick earlier. I can't continue to. I fuck holes in my yard and grow children from soil. We can't just continue to do that. We're gonna have too many soil
Lawnmower's
children.
pregnant.
My eyes are too oily.
He said the lawnmower's pregnant. Oh, that's bad. That would be a bad day. But that's what I'm saying. There is so much of that. don't give a fuck about the reality for people. It's like, what do we want? I always think about that when I ever see commercials. Whenever you see commercials, like if you're watching Hulu and you happen to have still the commercial version, or if you're at a hotel watching regular cable and then you see commercials, just always try to think, who do they think is watching this based on what they're trying to sell me? That's why in the morning, now one last thing and then please go ahead. Like in the morning, like daytime shows and shit, that's why you always see stuff about like disability.
I was gonna say it's usually like, class action lawsuits
because they assume that the only people that are home
my money and I need it now.
They assume that the only people at home watching grown-up shit. If you're a grown-up at home during the day when a normal person would be working,
then you're a scumbag.
They assume that you're basically fucked up, that your body is fucked up, like that you just can't work.
Yeah.
Give me some Jerry. Give me some Maury. Give me The Price is Right. I want to see J.G. Wentworth. I want to see Mark Sokolov.
I was going to say Mark Sokolov. Yeah.
I need those accurate representations of my life on television.
I want to pretend I'm going to ITT Tech. I'm going to get the paperwork. And I'm going to roll a blunt on the paperwork about how I can enroll in classes I'll never go to.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Oh, man, what was the one dude? He was like, they were rapping about fucking going to college.
I think it was ITT Tech.
Lincoln Tech.
Well, it depends on.
Could have been Phoenix University.
Yeah.
Certificate schools.
Phoenix University.
University
I
of
always
Phoenix.
seen that in the back of the Rolling Stone or the High Times. Honestly, that's where I've seen Phoenix.
The Rolling Stone or the High Times? What are you fucking 55-year-old stoner? When I was reading the most recent episode of the High Times. Do a nice read up on Cheech.
They do. There's so much buy-in with the High Times brand now. You can see them on social media, like, "Hey, buy stock." And at work, they fucking High Times sponsoring a new kind of cannabis cup where it's literally it's the most corporate shit ever. Like all dispensaries get fucking send out kits, and then like regular people just buy the kits, quote unquote, and then they send in cards, and it's like, motherfucker, you're just buying everyone's making a whole bunch of money through some cross branding and the cannabis cup through High Times. There's real cups out there.
I mean, well, no, this is my point: is that originally the old school
it was in Amsterdam,
had to be done in Amsterdam cannabis cup. That was the real shit.
That was it, yeah.
Now, any kind of every legal state has their own.
I'm gonna make it to regionals.
Every legal state has their own fucking cannabis cup bullshit now. So to me, at that point,
but the High Times used to have.
I know.
It meant a different.
That's
caliber,
what my point is that people have to recognize that it's a real double-edged blade the way that things have gone with like the internet and shit. Because yes, a lot of things have been corporatized. That is true. But beyond that,
that was if there was no internet, that was already happening anyway.
Pharmaceutical DMT from Pfizer on the internet.
Yeah.
We still have the ability to be grassroots, basically. Yeah, no, you want to know what? I remember when I used to live in Boston, they would always talk about, oh yeah, the fucking MIT kids out there just fucking synthesizing DMT and shit.
Oh yeah.
I don't know
it's
where.
Apparently not that hard to do.
The kid who I got DMT from was son of a Freemason and had like Freemason tattoos and shit. He was like all about it and he used to get fire acid and fucking DMT and shit.
Got it straight from the guy in the coil.
Exactly. He wasn't at the he was at the 30th degree. You know.
It's a black belt.
Yeah, he was a black belt in the masonry.
Kick a brick right in half.
You want to know what? I have to wonder if somebody that is involved in Freemasonry having access to DMT.
All it is just a bunch of, it's a network like anything else. So like people who are super into that shit and like high up at levels, they're into fucking drugs and like fucking just like any other hierarchy, man. Like go to a brony convention, you're gonna find people fucking who are like into fucking, like Molly or something, and like a major plug holed up in a hotel room sweating in a suit. You know what I'm saying? Like every scene has like these connections. It's just like
because
the Freemasons just obviously has more. You know what I mean?
You would think,
because I knew another kid who was a Freemason who had fire acid, lived in Boston, and they would like talk about it. You know what I mean? Like they were like proud of it. because it was also at the beginning of YouTube, so they knew that it was like it would raise some fucking quills. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause they're literally selling you acid. You know what I mean? There's a whole culture to that.
No,
to
you're
that
right
shit,
about that.
Where it's like an aesthetic. Like the kid had guns and like two fucking like flat screens, and this is before everybody was like doing this shit. Like, and it had like just like a screensaver of all different random ass disconnected images, and then this side had just like a computer, like whatever, just a regular internet browser, and it'd always be spinning vinyl, and he kept his stash in a fucking like a thing in the floor. Like I remember he like fucking, it was like a movie, dude. He fucking like takes the carpet back and then fucking takes the shit out. And I remember going when I first went there was after we did Claude's release party.
Oh yeah, that was an intense.
I was
night.
tripping.
I've heard that if you're talking about 10:30, that was a fucking thing of
No,
legend.
actually, no, it wasn't.
Everybody
no,
used
it was
to
the
talk
one
about
before
that.
that.
Okay.
You remember the one before that?
Oh,
The year before?
I'm sure that was even crazier.
East Coast Promotions. Remember? It was like fucking. I don't think Claude played. It was like Dr. Giggles and Illegal and me. And,
I remember that.
You remember that?
Yep.
That was the show where I was tripping balls, and like the kids, all the people. There was like a crowd. The crowd of people who came to see me were all on acid, wearing fucking bathrobes and sunglasses. And it was only like 5 people, but yeah, those cultures, man, they definitely fucking have fucking major connections, and then that's just drugs.
Anything where where there's drugs and money.
Imagine that's just that. Like imagine like high-ranking positions and CFOs
God, I can only
and
imagine.
I don't know what the guy that had in Boston who sold the acid fucking. His name is, and he lives at. No, I'm just. No, like, yeah, no, I'm telling you.
We'll get into that in another time.
He ended up being like a fucking. He's like a 911 dispatcher, and like on his way to being like a state trooper. And I know a few people
going down that way.
who are like super and like, and that's how you know they're truly villainous. You know what I mean? And I say that I'm like, yo, you literally know how corrupt those institutions are, and you've made the decision that you'd rather be protected by them than like just try to be like a sovereign citizen. But I also get that too, because like you probably come to a crossroads where someone like comes to you and they're like, we know exactly what you're doing, but we know your dad, so like stop it right now and go get a fucking day job. You know what I mean? Where other people just get arrested. You know what I mean? And their lives get ruined. So I feel like that's the greatest social network that you get when associated with Freemasons and shit. Just to button that up.
And you want to know what? See, that's the thing is that there's so many different, like, that's what fraternities are in schools and shit.
Yo, cops
That's
even.
what all that is.
You want to hear a story that fucking infuriated me at fucking work? This kid who is a manager, and this is where the white shit kind of comes into play, because this is an isolated institution where the only people going to management positions are fucking white and all went to like colleges and golf together and all the stereotypical shit. You know what I mean? And yeah, this fucking what the hell was I talking about?
The privilege.
Oh yeah, you're talking about how like some kid at the.
I'm talking about how cops are like gangs and shit, like, and that synergy.
No, that's
because
biggest gang. Corrections officers will remind you quite often while you're incarcerated that they are the largest gang in the.
Yeah,
in
Tupac
the
said that.
Yeah.
And
Tupac said that shit once.
And they make stuff disappear. I mean, 3-4 people a year die at the hands of corrections officers at Salt Bay and Boston.
I seen
every single year.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
There are hallways, flights of stairs with no cameras, and if you end up on the elevator, you're toast. Like you better hope they're gonna try to push you down the stairs, because if you're on that elevator in the 3 building going down the stairs, especially after a fight, and if something happened to a cop, you're getting the nightstick. Like they're going to brutalize you and then just take you to the hole and hide you there.
Fucked
yeah,
up, man.
no, that you want to know what? Once you get to that level of it, like, I had always figured to a certain extent, like in the John Wick movies, you got the hobos and shit basically that are part of the whole, like they're sitting there looking like they're crazy, but the reality is they're actually part of this like network of, I guess, either assassins or drugs or whatever the fuck it is. But the point is that I had always figured that is, to a certain extent, like, if you really want to see the truly crazy shit in this world, you have to get to some level of military, police, private sector protection or investigation or whatever, or be like poor and truly ride the rails and be a transient that people just genuinely don't notice, which is why they get killed by serial killers all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. Like
that's when you see the true division and segregation at the most visceral level when it comes down to it, and I'm sure,
Absolutely.
yeah, Sean can attest to that. You know, like, and I've seen it, and it sucks, but it's a fundamental fact of life, and all you can do is like hope to transcend it. But like once you're embedded in it,
hey,
you know, it's just what it is.
There's definitely a difference, and you can see it. I'm not gonna sit here and say all cops suck and all COs are bastards. I can tell you right now that there's dudes who wear the uniform as corrections officers, who grew up in the same fucking neighborhoods doing the same fucking shit. They're still doing the same shit. I know COs who sell drugs, they fight, they're out there. Gang members. I can tell you for a fact, at least 20 members of the Essex County Sheriff's Department are gangster disciples. I know for a fact that at least 5 are Latin Kings.
Wow.
And why wouldn't you, if you were a member of a gang, get a job in a position where you'd be able to help somebody?
It's like a similar.
It's
a trope, dude. It's
right.
It's real life though.
I mean,
it's fucking,
when you're talking fraternities, secret societies, brotherhoods, we're talking gangs. This is what we're talking. It all breaks down to a gang.
Yeah.
I'm sitting. Maybe you guys don't see it, but I'm sitting in a room with 2 of my gang brothers right now, and we're OGs.
Yeah.
Like legit. I ride for this.
it is on. You want to know what? It's on my
true.
paperwork. I got paperwork that says my gang
I
affiliation.
I don't have it. I
Factual.
don't have that because I don't have any tattoos. This shit. 'Cause I don't have any tattoos. But like I remember Dave fucking trying to drill that in my head. Like I want to make Juggalos. Not you were the one who said make Juggalos a gang again.
Yeah.
But he was on that wave since I first met him.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
we were talking about that when I was 13. Like,
Yeah.
listen, if you were a hatchet man, you're in a gang, and your ass better
Better
be
be
ready
ready
to do
that
that
thing.
thing. How the fuck are they gonna tell me we're not a gang?
Yeah.
Through the FBI.
It's pretty
Fuck that
wild.
shit.
And honestly, everywhere I've gone, like when I went to Job Corps, it was one of the things that was my saving grace. That and being able to rap. And then wearing my Fago shirt, it became like, oh, there's Fago. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
And that is, again, one of those visceral times where it's literally, I was 16, and like majority of the people in their early 20s, in late teens, and everybody was, I came from fucking Manomet, which is like a fucking white trash beach suburb, and then fucking, there's people from like Roxbury and fucking Rosendale and fucking, and the backwoods of Maine, which those are the people who tried to jump my ass and were way more violent, you know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like, the people who were from the city appreciated what was going on more. Well, not my roommate though. The motherfucker, man, they were like smoking weed, like, and they it was funny. Is growing weed too saved my ass too, because I knew I was gonna, I'm a fucking nerdy white kid, so I knew like people were gonna try to pull my card and fuck with me and everything else. So I had these fucking Polaroids of the weed I was growing. And I kept them under my bed because they search all your shit when you get there. And I remember I had them, and these my roommate, he was Dominican, and all these kids who didn't even really speak much English, they kind of cornered me because they were breaking up like the most tiniest fucking joint. And since it's a federal program, like they tell you over and over again, like you can fail your first drug test, and then after that, you're getting arrested like on federal charges because you're in a federal program.
Right.
Like that's what. I imagine it's the same thing in jail and shit, right?
Charges are a little different, but yeah, I mean, you don't want to get caught with drugs while you're in jail.
Yeah, well, so what I did was I kept, it's weird I had the foresight for this. I kept the pitchers of weed under my bed, and then when they all ganged up on me, which was like the first or second night, they were like, you gonna snitch? And then I was like, yo, just let me show you pictures of my girlfriend, pictures of my girl. And then they were like, what the fuck? And then I fucking busted out the pictures of my plants, and they were like, oh, dude. And then they were trying to charge me $10 to smoke the joint. And then I was like, nah, man, because I was trying to pass my first drug test. Because I found out you could fail your first drug test. Yeah. So I like went super hard before I fucking went there. So I don't want to smoke anymore.
And this is something that I'll tell you, with 8.5 years inside the correction system, that's between like 9 different institutions, pre-trial, county jails, and state prisons, pre-release facilities. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. If you're polite, and you can have even the smallest conversation. You will find that you have something in common with everybody.
Yeah.
And you can be friendly and civil with everybody. I've been in multiple physical altercations while I was incarcerated, mostly because people didn't know how to treat other people with respect, or they were sex offenders. Different story. If you go into a place where people are or have been traumatized maybe most of their lives, and you can get through it without everybody there trying to kill you, you've done a good job. If you can connect with people, hell, I've got friends who I never would ever mix with on the in the world in general that, hey, I'd ride for. And these are Cambodian dudes who got here fucking 6 years ago. These are, you know, guys who killed 19 people. These are people who, you know, and, you know, something small in common, liking the same music, art, certain books, and marijuana. Marijuana brings people together more than any other thing I've ever seen.
You want to know what? I think that there is truth to that in the sense that marijuana is, for sure, inherently communal.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no question about that. However, I think that marijuana has helped bridge the gap between many things as opposed to just bringing people together, which it does do, but I think that marijuana, more to its credit, has been able to, like, a goth kid and a preppy kid. Want to smoke some weed? Yeah, I do. And now you're talking to somebody you'd, like, never talk to.
Yo, it's how I'm reconnecting with my brother hardcore, because we both were raised by an addict, and we did the classic story of where he was like, fuck all drugs, you're a loser if you do anything, and then I was growing weed and mushrooms at fucking 15. So we diverged on that a lot. Life chewed us up and spit us out. We came back together as adults, and he realized that, like, because he's in, like, has, like, some affluence as a real estate agent, knows some people who fucking really got their shit together and are prosperous, and seen they smoke weed and do some recreational drugs, and he was like, oh my god, like, I, you know, did the same way that, like, I see the world through a clearly particular lens of, like, it's all drugs, it's all violence, all these things. He had the opposite, you know what I mean, where, like, I'll never do that, but there has to be a middle ground, and that's what we're both finding by interacting more, and the common thread is, like Boyle was saying, fucking weed. I mean, obviously it's beyond that, but it's what facilitates a greater conversation when we're hanging out, because we weren't able to talk about some shit because it's so traumatic or whatever, you know what I mean?
Think about this. Alcohol is the only other thing that exists within that space that is a communal drug, basically. Because that's what alcohol
cultures,
is.
That's the thing, is in certain cultures, because it depends on the,
I think that in most Western
tobacco
cultures,
would be considered too.
Well, yeah, but you want to know
yes
what?
and no, because it's more ceremonial too.
Well,
so
no,
I know what you mean. And like,
what I'm basically saying is that
that
no, I'm not saying that it's one of the only drugs that inhabits that.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is alcohol does what? You get fucked up. You can have some fun, whatever. Pot does, like, basically the same thing in a different, typically more positive way. Some people react badly to it and they're very anxious, but you can train that out of yourself if you smoke enough over enough time. Eventually, the anxiety does go away. But what I'm saying is that marijuana is the only other drug that, you're able to basically share with people where you're not going in. Because you can't, sharing cocaine with people, yeah, that's a communal drug, but that's fucking cocaine. You can share mushrooms.
I don't know how to categorize that. That's like a fucking, like...
Well, but this is my point.
It's communal in theory.
Exactly.
You know, like...
Exactly. But that's my point. Just
depends on how much money...
no, true indeed.
You know, back in the day
up until COVID, though, passing a joint was one of the most communal, chill...
Oh, at a concert?
Exactly.
Like, yeah, that was pure... complete strangers.
Exactly.
Here you go, you know what I mean?
And that's my
that
point.
Comes
Is
back
that,
too. I really
I
do.
mean, you want to know what?
You know what I mean?
For some people, you go to the gathering, it never ended. I'll tell you that.
So that's fine. I don't know. That's fine. But
it is tricky, but whatever.
So what were you saying about? So you're saying it's alcohol and weed that really share that, and those are the most exclusive. You think?
No, what I was saying was more so that weed. That's why it's able to bridge the gap the way that it's doing with a lot of people in a lot of different circumstances, is because weed is a get fucked up drug, But a lot of people don't like to get drunk, like myself, because you get sick and you can also pretty easily act an ass, make an ass out of yourself when you're drunk.
Yes.
When you're high, more often than not, people will like maybe giggle at you and you might be a little bit like quiet, but you're not going to end up fucking puking on yourself and shitting in a plant.
At Pringle's wedding the other day, this is a classic adult pothead story that shows us like that we're still kind of has traces, not even traces, fudge ripples of adolescence right through us because we're at Pringle's house. It's his wedding. We're all in our 30s, and we still went out to our cars in the middle of the fucking street and had like a massive session with fucking just clouds in the air. You know what I mean? Like, because there's still this like tiny social stigma because we were like, yo, there's kids over there, and he's like, yo, it's my house. I'm like, come to my house, you idiots. Like, why are you at your fucking car? And then when we showed up, it wasn't like being belligerent when we all came in, like, yeah. We were all just like kind of quiet, and like everybody gave us that like slight stink eye, just like, yeah, you stink like weed, motherfucker. And there was like 8 of us, but if we all went and got absolutely shit-faced and then rolled up, that would have been a whole different fucking entrance. You know what I mean? Not as benign. But I also, with marijuana, I feel like the biggest thing, and let me put a caveat on it, like, I think that every substance, like, affects people differently.
Oh, that's
and that's just it. Like, so you can't, like, certain things, like, you can't train yourself a little bit, like, but if it is good for you, marijuana definitely fucking, it makes you forget everything that you're talking about all the time.
Well, no, it does. It can have that. You want to know what? So here's the problem with that, though, is that to say that it affects your memory, it does, short term for sure. I look at it, though, where I wrote songs in my car last year, maybe 2 years ago. No, it was last year, that I didn't record for 6 months later, and I kept writing, and I haven't forgotten any of the songs. There are occasionally verses that got lost to the ether that I either thought about doing and then didn't do, or the song got canceled or whatever. But to be able to have that level of memory, where I can commit something like that to memory, it obviously is not affecting your long-term memory and fucking your brain up. What it does is, I would assume, make some kind of disruption between like certain receptors of short-term memory, so that shorter memories just kind of. I also have ADHD like a motherfucker, so that might be part of it.
What's unique about marijuana is that it damages your brain cells, but it doesn't destroy them as much as like alcohol does. Like a long-term pothead is like they're burnt out and shit. Like, but like a fucking someone who's abused like any kind of benzos or alcohol or even cocaine, man, like fucking like cocaine psychosis. I've seen that in the hospital. Like, you can be fucking gone, paranoid, fucking for the rest of your life off that shit, and weird physical tics.
Oh yeah, yeah. But no, listen.
And shove like.
No, listen, dude. I'll
it's
tell you right
funny,
now.
but it is funny.
No, look, bro. A lot of people don't even know what wet brain is. Like,
that's what I'm like alluding to. Is
I tell people about having met people that were wet brain, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. Like, it's a foreign concept to them, basically.
Well, yeah, because like alcoholism is such an encouraged thing. I remember when Dank first got sober, it was like a South Park sketch one day. We were, well, isn't life in general, but like fucking, we were in a car smoking weed, and he was having like urges like a motherfucker, and I was listening to the radio, and it was like a beer can crack. It's a commercial where you hear like waves and shit, then a beer can cracks, and then he's like, he's like, where are your friends? And it's like, and then you hear like a party like stop, and they're like, they're at the party. You want to be party. And when you go to the party, you want to be the life of the party.
Oh my
Bud Light. You know what I mean?
The
subtext, though, is if you want to be
shit.
sociable and you want to be accepted, you have to buy this.
Yeah.
And you have to go there where everyone's drinking.
I was even just thinking about the fact of.
And me and Dank
imagine a fucking career alcoholic hearing that.
That's what me and Dank laughed because we were like. He was just going through it, and I was there for him. And then that came on and broke it up because it was just right in our face, like, this is a bigger problem, and like don't feel bad because look at what the fuck you're facing in every direction. Then walk across the street. Guess what's across the street?
Packy.
Exactly. And guess what's on the fucking billboard off the exit?
Liquor.
Yeah, so like that's not like easy to fucking get away from. It's actually like the hottest and most dangerous addiction
I'll
to
tell
break.
you right
No,
now.
you're absolutely
Boyle can
right.
tell you that.
Autopilot is the most insane thing about the infatuation with alcohol. The way I drink is different from the way other people drink. I've never had the DTs. I don't drink every day because I can't. Because I drink for 9 hours straight and then I go to jail for a couple of years. But that infatuation just like after I'll go 3 years without a drink and then I'll be walking out of a liquor store with a bottle in my pocket, not even knowing how I got in there. Fuck it. Autopilot. This happened last time I relapsed. Last time I drank, I fucking autopiloted into a pint of E&J and then another one. I mean, the second one was kind of, you have to follow up the first one with something. Need to chase
You can't
it.
just you can't just have one.
Yeah.
And still don't know how it happened. I know the mental condition I was in probably precipitated it, but wasn't a.
One would argue that's the ultimate factor, and then that's why you go on autopilot to end
Right.
up with the fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Because
the root
Oblivion's
cause,
so nice.
huh?
Because Oblivion's so nice.
Yeah, I know. That's one thing I liked, and it reminded me when we were doing Nitrous last time, like how much me and MJ used to do that shit, and why I like a lot of like. I used to like a lot of benzos, and I still do like high dose edibles, but I don't like to be as sluggish all the time. But it is what Buddhists call the cessation of thought, bro. 'Cause that's the ultimate goal.
Right.
But we're alive, so we have to fucking.
You know what's funny?
We have
Actually,
to fucking deal with
I
it.
was gonna say this
the
'cause
first
there was
rule,
back when I was living right before.
But I feel you, bro, and we all do here.
Right
That's
before- no,
the,
for
that's
sure.
the goal.
Right
and
before
it
Ori-
sucks, but we'll
like-
get there one day.
Right before Orion was born, I was living in basically a trap house in Salem where fucking Kizzy and all these other people were living, and this one dude, won't say the name, incriminate nothing, but fucking hearing about how he got this ketamine, it was shipped in from somewhere, and then they get in the car, and guys like, don't freak out when I do this, and everybody's like, what the fuck does that mean? And then he takes like a Bible, and then he rips the fucking spine off the Bible, and it's these packs of just salt crystal sized catachloride. And this shit was whoo! At a Disco Biscuits concert. We were hitting bumps out of the bag, and the bag opened up the bill opened up a little too much. I took like huge hit to the face. And it's funny because my mom was just telling me about a ketamine treatment that she's doing for depression, and how like basically like you dissociate from your body and your mind just goes to the other side of the universe and like, ooh, what's this and what's that, and oh, how about that, and then you come back. Like I distinctly remember having the thought, I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And just going with it, and then waking up and I'm still at the show and I'm like, fuck, man. Like I remember Claude saying that once, where like ketamine had made him trip harder than any other drug ever had, and I could kind of see in a sense what that might mean. But just like drugs like that, ketamine, mushrooms, LSD to an extent, if used properly, like can do things for like alcoholism and depression and whatnot. Like,
oh, dude, it was on the cusp of being the drugs prior to all the benzos and all the fucking sedatives. But
Worst
assholes like Timothy Leary fucking was like, yo, this is great. I'm gonna take this out of the lab and then go fuck a bunch of girls, and by getting them dosed up and then just join. You know what I'm saying? Like these other people who were kind of into it, and like I was so into that as a kid, like that scene.
What's his name? Fucking Forever Man at one of the Walnut Street shows had, I'm pretty sure, it was a Timothy Leary deprogramming tape that was like, he put it on the TV behind his set, and I remember being on mushrooms and watching it and being like, what the fuck is this? But it was like stop motion animation, weird ass shit.
He definitely associated himself with very like fucking beautiful, talented, fucking, visionary people around him. And then he used that to get laid. And then he ended up having a fucking house that, like, was just everybody, 10-year-olds were on acid. That's where there's the Isham, the Isham sample where it's the kids, they're talking about eating acid and they were 10 years old and shit. That's from the Leary house.
Oh, no shit.
And these kids were left to their own devices and like, oh, just eat acid, it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, and then I got really.
Those kids today, though?
This was around 2008 when everybody was. I was doing all the drugs, but then I it was all like everyone was into like Ram Dass and Leary, and I would be like tripping like, this is all bullshit. They're trying to. It's the CIA. Fucking Deepak Chopra is a fucking agent of the CIA, and so is Alex Jones. Like, I just didn't believe any of it because I've seen. Not all of it's bullshit, but a majority of it is people just trying to make money.
Yeah, it's
you know
just
what
a lot
I
of
mean? Like,
Again, Alex Jones is a fucking
motherfucker
wild.
is literally admits about how he is literally a relative of CIA. You know what I mean? That's how he knows a lot of the dumb shit that he knows. That is,
but see, the problem there is that to actually believe that to me means more that he's the fucking weirdo of the family, happens to know these people and assumes a bunch of shit. You really think that these fucking dudes are giving him state secrets? Like, you really think?
No, that's the thing is that, and he said it in like the Rogan interviews. It was mostly hearsay because Rogan's good at like eking out like the fucking.
Yeah.
That's why the legendary 6-hour podcast is so fucking hilarious, bro. But the whole time, Joe dissects everything that he's saying, and it's even-handed bullshit and actual fact. You know what I mean? Like. And
Alex Jones honestly believes that Sandy Hook was a fucking.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
But no, but the thing is, you got to listen to his long form interviews because the problem with it. This is the problem with.
So fucking wide. This is the hard to follow.
Here's the thing though. Like the problem with media, and we used to all agree on this, is that like when you only have like if you only like. You can take anything out of context, and if it's
edited for time and cut.
Yeah, so like that's why the beauty of podcasts is that you can listen to someone's entire point and not just whatever angle that they're trying to get.
Well, there is truth to that.
So like, but you have to. The problem with that is you got to take the time to actually fucking listen to the whole fucking thing, and then who has that kind of time?
Well, you want to know?
I have that kind of time, so I fucking.
The difference though is that you say that. However,
there's also bullshit when you take the time.
With the podcast, a big part of it is. There are, like, analysts.
I gotta leave at 11:50. What time is it?
Okay, 11:40. We've already been going for 47 minutes anyway, so this is pretty good. I think this is a pretty good episode in any case.
Yeah.
But, no,
it's just like William Cooper, bro. He was the guy of our time when the book was banned, Behold a Pale Horse, and it was under the same pretenses, and he died in a shootout with the federal government because he evaded taxes, but, like, at the same time, he definitely disclosed certain secrets, and he said in the foreword of his book, because that was my conspiracy thing of the time, there's generations of which conspiracy, you know what I'm saying? And I was of the William Cooper era, you know what I mean? And
I was just on the tail end of that. I was at the tail end of William Cooper, and I was more at the loose change zeitgeist level.
Yeah, and that's when it became sociable, Max. So I was just a fucking weirdo, and there was only a few people.
Dude, you think I don't understand? In fucking Futurama, they have the whole thing of the whole movie is based on the people with the tinfoil hats.
Yeah.
Because you want to know what? The tinfoil hat shit sounds real fucking weird until you find out about certain things about like radio frequency and whatever.
I've encountered 3 people with tinfoil hats in the last 6 months. I have a friend who
got mine under this hat.
Growing up, his mother
in my
wore
brain.
tinfoil, and she encouraged him to as well. That's basically, the extent of that. The last tinfoil hat experience I had, the person had there was a whole rig, there was a whole setup. The tinfoil was actually wrapped around a knit hat, which was very functional and fashionable. But there was an iPhone charger wrapped through it and hanging out of it. And there was some sort of transistor radio.
This was all in a knit hat?
On their person.
Oh, I was going to say, damn, bro.
The
charger rained.
Well, I think they were protected from the rain.
Oh, okay.
They had something going on. They made my camera glitch. I took a picture of this person, by the way. And something happened in the background. The person who wasn't moving just appeared in 3 times in the same picture. So I think they have a point with the whole tinfoil hat thing. I might give it a try. I don't have a New Year's resolution yet, and fuck shit up and hit on your girlfriend's getting old. I've done it for the last 10 New Year's. So I think it's gonna be tinfoil hat, maybe on the weekends.
Yeah. Or during work hours, then take it off on your own time. Or reverse that.
Work hours. I'm gonna start wearing a tinfoil hat at Dunkin' Donuts, and what can they do? I'm disabled. I have a litany of mental health conditions.
I feel like you could do that. It's just a matter of what it always comes down to in situations like that is how far are you willing to take it?
All the way. They pay me $13.50 an hour.
If you're really willing to push it to the wall, then I think that would be. It's a shame because you have to get like some kind of recording apparatus because this is just you go viral. Just go viral. That's what everybody's fucking doing now anyway. Hide your kids, hide your wife. That motherfucker made $100,000 off of like selling his voices like whatever. Fucking
How'd you catch up?
That's
How'd
awesome.
you mustard?
Yeah, no. I'm not saying fuck that person. I'm saying it can happen that quickly and it can happen that spontaneously. You just have to find a way to go viral.
I mean, I feel like it's not too hard to just like develop a mental health condition. Like,
I was gonna say we already have them. Why do we need to develop more?
If I start wearing the tinfoil hat because I think it will help me feel better about my life, that's a symptom of a mental health condition.
Is it?
Yo, the real.
It is.
I guess.
Here's the real.
I'm doing something extreme to change my life, and it makes no sense.
Here's the real. Not even to. This is to attest to that, and maybe we can wrap it up with this. Like, here's a real. What once was considered conspiracy is actual fact, and now changed law. It's, remember antibiotics? Like, remember when there was a big campaign about how antibiotics, like, they're like 100% antibiotic free. You know what I mean? You'd see that, like, as an advertisement.
Yeah.
Why is that? That's because factory farm animals were being loaded up with human antibiotics, and it was making mad people sick. But, like, there was scientists on, from Purdue and shit like that would do giant campaigns like, oh, chickens are healthy. You know what I mean? And that lasted for like 20 years, and a lot of people got sick and died. And now there's but inevitably, I worked on a campaign to get people to donate money, because this is how you quote unquote fight the man, is like you get your own money, and then you get your own scientists, and then you go to Congress and you say, hey, this is happening, can we change it? You know what I mean? Like, there's a greater one that it keeps on, and we started to touch on this, I think, last time. Monsanto with glyphosate.
Roundup.
Yeah, Roundup. That was another thing that for a long time they said it was, it's safe, it's everything, but it's been linked to like a lot of mental health conditions.
My thing is this. I look at it
they're paying out a lot of money.
With a lot of these things, the problem is that it's for sure multiple times the government and private interests have done nefarious fucking things. Put it to you like this: in the Oblongs. Do you remember how long ago the Oblongs was a TV show?
Such a dope show.
Great show, but there was Globoside or whatever it was the fucking company, and then they're at they have like the singing beavers or whatever, and then when they finish something, it might not even been the Oblongs, but it was something equally far back that long ago. It says something about they finished whatever. Please address all concerns to the Monsanto Corporation. No,
they've been evil for a very long time.
And they've been talking about
But only that's a creative that's the blessing of creativity. But as far as where it mattered, which was courts, you know what I mean? Like, nobody gave a fuck for a very long time, and that the people now there's massive payout of billions of dollars, but Bayer, Bayer was the one who caught the bill, which, if you know anything about Bayer, they literally helped the Nazis. So the thing is, you can look at, and those are the real life things that get muddied by actual propaganda of bullshit conspiracies. So the real shit, we're buying the poison, we're eating it, and if you look at the timeline of when these particular things are in food, which everybody eats food, and everybody eats cheap food,
Well, I've been seeing this for years, where apparently
we all have,
in other
there's
countries
a lot of mental
there-
health problems. Just to tie it back, like,
Right.
and it's been shown through mad studies, and that's why in Europe and shit, there's a lot of shit that these chemicals are literally banned,
Yeah.
and in America they're not. And if you look at America, we're all fat. We all, literally, the three of us are fat and have mental health problems. So
That
like,
being
it's hard
said-
it's really hard to fucking argue against it.
Make
And that's
sure
the
you get your-
conspiracies I believe in, and that's all I gotta say because I gotta be out of here.
Get your breakfast at McDonald's, lunch at Dunkin' Donuts, and dinner at Pizza Hut.
I'm gonna go do it, and I'll see you at my fucking funeral, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess we will cut it at that point. There's you can't really go.
Where do you
up
go
front.
from there?
Yeah, you've been buried and the casket's been locked and fucking cranked shut, and now fucking we're dumping dirt onto the
He's a
casket.
McFlurry scumbag.
Well, you know what I noticed, by the way, is that you guys both said, here's the thing, infinitely more than me, which I love. So, we're out for today, whatever the fuck it is, but I'll see y'all again. Peace fucking.